oh my God, I could just die if I was in his movie. That has happened and I'm still alive. I can speak Hindi to an auto driver. I'm still learning the genders. Nahi ho paegi ya nahi ho paega. And then I couldn't go to sleep for 3 days.
Now, what is your plan for the foreseeable future?
You know, Karan, I'm kind of confused. So I've changed my name to Lama.
Okay.
I'm only introducing myself as Lama. People are scared of me. You know, I get very irritated when directors come and say, give me something else.
Are you a loser? Are you a freak? Do you need a lover? Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. Don't bother me.
Welcome to Real Strugglers, where we talk to real filmmakers and actors about their struggles working in the chaotic world of films. Today, our guest is actor, TV host Lakshmi Manchu. So, Lakshmi and I have known each other since we were kids.
Yeah. Since he was a kid, I was grown.
I mean, you also practically a kid.
I really was. Yeah.
She's a friend of my mum's, and she's a very successful actor, and she's acted in all over the world now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, your first acting gig was when you moved to the US, right?
No, I started acting when I was a little kid. I used to be one of those. So the first movie I did was with my dad, and they needed a little girl who could handle a snake. So they auditioned many people, and they couldn't get the particular girl. And they had brought these snakes home to show how they're going to look, but they were not real. You know, one was real, but one wasn't. So I didn't care. I went and picked it up, apparently. I was in my first grade. I didn't even start my first grade. And then they were all shocked. Oh, my God, we found our girl. So that was my first movie. I act with my 2 teeth missing. I'm okay now to talk about it, but I was to be really embarrassed because I had those 2 teeth missing. But after that, a few more movies, I would come at the end of the cinema and say, thank you for coming to my daddy's film. And I hope you liked it, and you'll come again. And yeah, it started there, and then after America, that's where I really started acting.
Yeah, I mean, did you have any formal training or anything in acting, or did you how did you pick it up? I mean, you do have actors in the family, but
I did my undergrad in theater,
Okay.
minored in education, and then I was in a very strict acting school called Beverly Hills Playhouse, and my teacher was Milton Katselis and Richard Lawson, who've taught the greatest of actors even till today. Milton unfortunately passed away a few years ago. But I'm very much in touch with Richard, and anytime, anything I need, he's my mentor and, you know, someone who picks me up from wherever I am.
And did you know that you wanted to go to acting school, or it was just something that you thought you'd just try out, or were you just keen on it?
I knew I wanted to be an actor when I was 5 or 6, and then it took me 20 years to find the voice to say that this is what I want to do. I did theater because I signed in as a computer science student. That's what Indian girls do, right? So, and then I swear to God, it was really Tare Zameen Par. Like, literally could not understand 101 of computers. So during the first semester, I went to see a play in the theater in our school. And I tell you, Karan, it was really like a floodlight between me and the stage. And the very next day I went to my counselor and I said I wanted to change from computer science to theater. And she was like, are you mad? How are you going to do that? Forget about being an Indian. There are no international students in this program, and you're not going to get a job, and then you need to get an F1, I said, I'll figure that then, but this is what I want to do now. And I knew this was the only time I would be able to secretly.
Was your dad not cool with you becoming an actor?
I don't think he still is.
Oh, really?
He just has to deal with it. And then I was even more scared of him, and don't upset Nana, and everything in our family just revolves around my dad. And it is really hard to find one's own voice because it's his way or highway. He's not very giving when it comes to we wanting to do our own things. He's like, what does that mean? You should do what I want you to do. He's very, very old school like that. There is a lot of humor in the way I say it now, but it was very hard to get here for me to see that is who you are. this is who I am. And it's okay for both of us to have two different ideas about life. Because otherwise, I knew I wanted different, but felt so guilty for wanting something different other than what my dad wanted. So just maneuvering through that was just really hard.
So were you lying to him when you changed your major, and were you how did you do that?
Yeah, I lied to him throughout. I minored in education because I thought if I don't become an actor, at least I can teach acting. And then even after I graduated, I kept saying I'm doing documentaries while I was acting with James Caan and George Sumel. Because the world wasn't so small back then.
Yeah.
You know, somebody had to buy, like you were still watching Bold and the Beautiful. You know what I mean? So it wasn't really like real time. It's not like how it is in the past 10 years or 5 years even, or should I say since COVID. Like everything is real time everywhere. So it was easier to camouflage what you were doing with other things.
So wait, you did this straight after high school, or was it your master?
Undergrad.
Okay, so it's like at 18, 19 you were...
No, 21. I was in Hyderabad. I did 1 year of college here. And then, you know,
Yeah.
I was a terrible student. And I think it's very important for me to talk about this right now. And because I work a lot with children and with Teach for Change and all of that, people these days give up so easily. Who are studying to be doctors killing themselves. I understand if you were a bad student throughout and then you have no hope. But if you didn't get through the grade you wanted for NEET or whatever, you were still there. You have so much more. I had no plans for my future. I was a terrible, terrible, terrible student. And I didn't know, I couldn't wait till I finished my high school. And then I went to America, and then I was on the dean's honor roll, and they were paying me to stay in college. And I'm like, what's going on here? Just that they gave me the freedom. They said, here, this is what you need to read. This is where you'll find it. These are the kind of books you need to look at. So something about the freedom that I had there made me thrive rather than being told this is how you should be all the time. Why I say it's important for me to talk about this is if I hadn't failed as many times as I did, I wouldn't have been sitting here. If everything went as per my plan, I don't know where that would have led me, but definitely not where I'm sitting right now. And I want people watching and people who are interested to come into any kind of field that struggle is real. And unless you enjoy that struggle, you're never going to find that freedom. You know, they say, how do I do this? So I always say, overnight success happens in 10 years. You got to put in your time.
Yeah, no one sees what's happened in the last 10 years. They just see someone just pop up out of nowhere. No one knows what they did before that to get there.
Everybody's talking about Shobita. It's fantastic. But the first time I saw Shobita was 13 years ago. That girl put in the work and the time. And now is her time to shine and rise. And now there is no looking down, you know, because she's put in the time and hours and learned the system, I feel. I mean, I haven't spoken to her. It's just me observing somebody like that, you know, and most people just give up. You know, I know a lot of actors who came into the industry after they were in their 18, 19, did a bout in, you know, these Miss Indias and all of that, and then dabble for a couple of years and then just find a boy and get married. The ones who stayed on and said, no, this is my career and I'm going to go ahead, people have really done well. So I just think that you need to put in the time, and you can't have like, this is, you know, you can't say this is, I'll only give it this time.
Yeah,
Art is not like that.
A lot of people say I'm going to move to Bombay for 1 year and give it a shot. In 1 year, you may meet one casting director who's willing to call you more than once. Because I don't think anything can happen in 1 year, because...
They need to know that you're serious about it,
Yeah.
dude. What if you in the middle of a shoot say, okay, they're treating me badly, I got to go. Unless you get treated badly for 3 years here, you'll know like, okay, it can get worse than this.
Yeah.
You know, because people from the outside think it's so easy. This morning I woke up with a spasm. Thank God I called my physiotherapist. He immediately sent someone. I took a Mobizox. I still show up because I gave you my time. You're not going to kill me if I say I'm not going to come. I'm not being paid to show up here. But it is my word that means as an artist that you have something signed up. You make it go right. The show must go on.
Is this something that you picked up at theater? Because I know, like, in theater also, people are very particular about rehearsal times.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you can't miss it. Even though you're rehearsing for the same scene and play for 30, 40 days sometimes, you can't miss it.
No.
You can't ever miss a rehearsal.
Ever. I don't care if you have a doctor's appointment, as they tell me.
Yeah, plan
Figure
around
out,
it.
Yeah, plan around it. And I think that really gave me the discipline. And of course, my dad was always a very strict disciplinarian, but I had to find my own way in how I want to maneuver this industry. You know, they say, oh, because you're so-and-so's daughter. It's always been a double-edged sword. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, but you didn't have that when you were in America and you were getting work there as well.
Yeah.
Like, no one knew who you were, no one knew your acting background. So
Yeah.
I mean, even if it was moderately easier for you over here, over there, it was 100 times harder because there weren't as many roles for brown-skinned people
No,
at the
but
time.
so when I went into an audition, so there was every ethnicity sitting there who looked Indian and who would bob their head and do this very bad Indian accent. So that's where people were with it, you know. And then you would see girls who are prettier than you, taller than you, or somebody who had just booked something. So you walk in there already with all these inhibitions saying, oh, why is she here? Oh my God, she's here. Oh, that she books everything. Why did they call me? So you go into the room with like, I'm not going to get this anyway. But then you learn to work a room. I had no choice. I didn't know what else to do in life other than be an actor. So I had to learn not just acting, but how to work the room also.
So how do you keep your composure when you see a room full of people who are probably as good as you competing for the same part? How do you keep your composure? How do you not fuck up your audition and like just manage to do the scene while eliminating the noise?
So Richard always says, do you go into a room to get fucked or to fuck? I don't want to get fucked.
But were you confident when you went in for your first audition or
Not at all.
No.
That's what I say. You go in shy. I took every class that there was about auditioning and one-on-ones with my teacher. And I called my college teacher, Daryl Cox. And I said, listen, I'm getting into every room, but then I'm getting callbacks, but I'm not booking anything. So for a year, it was, you know, this pretty girl. So I got into the room and I was pretty decent at what I did. So I got a call back, but I wasn't booking it. So it was even more frustrating. If it was just audition and didn't get a call back, I'd say, okay, I need to learn my acting a little bit more, or I don't come in as a strong actor or something. But it was more than that.
So how did you start booking then? Like how did the convert? What did you have to
My
do to
teacher
convert?
just said, the more number of no's that you get, the closer you're getting to a yes. You know, because I was kind of like, am I doing the right thing? You know, every question, every doubt, you know. And then I got an audition and then I got a call back. It was for one line and it was on a big show. Obviously, on the day of the show, I kept jumbling the words. I was too nervous. Is my accent right? Is my look right? Will they like me? And you're working with James Caan, Josh Duhamel, and if you fuck this up, you're ruined. But if you get it right, maybe. So you go in with all of that. And it was at the end of the day that they called me in. I mean, I was there all day. They had this one sequence to finish, and it was one line. And I was very nervous. It was Josh Duhamel who was with me, and he was very encouraging. And I got that line in, and it was like, yes. That's how I got my SAG card. I was an extra in Boston Legal and all these other shows because you need 3 SAG vouchers to become a SAG member. But they won't give you vouchers unless suddenly they say, can you say, excuse me? Girl, you're right. Can you say, excuse me? If you utter a word, then you get your SAG card. So they're very particular not to use non-SAG actors as speaking members because there are so many SAG actors, right?
Yeah.
So you got to be nice to the people who are casting these extras and make sure you're in the room often enough that they feel, okay, this girl is diligent. Let's give her 1 voucher. Because again, once you get the 3 vouchers, you don't want to be doing extra work, you know?
Right, yeah.
You're like cattle. And being born and raised the way I was, it was humiliating is not the word.
Humbling.
saying, wow. So even that's why when people say, oh, you're so nice, I'm like, I know how it is to be on the other side.
But what was the show or film that you were in that you had that line in?
Las Vegas.
Oh, okay. I thought you were in a recurring part in that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
But
that converted into something.
Yes. I
Okay.
went in for one line and they had to do all this paperwork because I was on an O1 visa. And then they said, no, we want her only.
And how long into finishing your undergrad was this?
I think the second year, 1 year, there was nothing.
But the extra work was happening.
Yeah, the extra work was happening. I was doing all sorts of odd jobs. I did not want a 9 to 5 job because if I got an audition, I didn't want to
Not be able to get
not
for
be
it.
able to go for it. And sometimes auditions are like, where are you? Can you get there now? So my car would be like it would have a jacket, it would have ripped jeans, it would have different looks of what I would get called in for. It was always yes and yes, where do I need to be? So I guess, when you're so willing and so ready is when God also gives you those opportunities. If you're like, let me see, then it'll be let me see.
Did you tell anyone back home that you landed this gig, or was it? So then, who were you? Who did you confide in? Who did you talk to about all this at the time? Because if
Andy, I was
Okay.
dating Andy, and he was my biggest fan from my college days.
Okay.
He would not miss one of my theater performances. He lived in Dallas, and I went to college in Oklahoma, so he would drive down every time, send me the biggest of flowers. I mean, we were in college, and Oklahoma is a very poor state, and he would send me these huge flowers, and they'd be like, "What a lucky girl!" He was already working, so he always encouraged me, and you need some belief, some validation from somewhere. I had enough as big as Mount Kailash that this is what I wanted, but he always encouraged me, and that really made me feel like, okay, I could keep doing this, and it was just him. And there was nobody back home that I would talk about, only for the fear of that they would make me come back and say, what are you doing? And yeah.
Did that ever happen though? Like at a later point because the show was on Star World in India.
A lot of people went and told my dad about it, and he was like, what? What are you talking about? I don't think he ever saw it even till date, but there were people who were like, oh my God, your daughter's acting in Hollywood. I also didn't let it land really strongly on him because, again, I didn't know how he would react. But slowly but surely, even when I moved back here and I got my first movie, there was a lot of back and forth. Should you do it? Should you not do it? Why should you do it? What will people think? And then it was my mom who was like, stop it, everybody. This is what she wants to do, and you let her do. And it was not in the ideal circumstances. I was already married by then. You're not going to get, ingenue characters if you're married in this country. I'm sitting here with you, so I did all right.
And why did you come back to India though?
I was manipulated, to truth be told. Vishnu was getting married. I came here for his engagement, and in a conversation like this, I said, I want to do a talk show like Oprah Winfrey, because Oprah is, to me, she's God, like literally God. And
Did you give people cars?
no,
the audience?
I would love to. I did. I've given 3 cars away in my show.
Okay.
Nobody's ever done that in India. I've done things like that. I was really, really inspired by her. And what was about her is that she lived her life unapologetically. It wasn't like I have to be wearing khadi clothes to do good. That's what people here do. No, I'm an activist, so I have to look a certain way. But she was wearing the biggest of diamonds and still, because she's like, I came from nothing. I earned this. Now I want to give back. Like, for me, that was very, very foreign and new and attractive, and what a well-read woman she was, and how gentle and how connected to every story that she is. So I was really mesmerized by her. And then I came back for the wedding, and there was a talk show that got greenlit. I was like, wait a minute, I don't even speak the language.
Well,
But
your
Vishnu-
Telugu wasn't.
Anything Indian I ran away from. Forget about Telugu. When the whole 10 years I lived in America, because I just wanted to find out who I was rather than how I was perceived or how I was told to be, And so when I saw Indians, every one of those triggers became very alive. And so I was very, very distant. And the only Indians I knew were Punjabis that were born and raised in LA. So they had zero idea of who I am or was. And then when I came back and then I was like, Vishnu, I don't know how to speak Telugu. He said, I just got married. This is a couple of months. We'll write everything down for you. You'll make some extra money and go back. I fell for it. And here I am.
But do you regret moving back in any way?
Yes.
You do?
For work-wise, I do, because my friends who are waiting tables have now started working. And imagine I was already working then, and if I'd just stayed the course, where I would have been. And no matter how many Telugu films I do, it's Telugu film. How many other Tamil films I do, it's Tamil film. One little TV thing I do in the US, it's Hollywood.
Yeah.
It's worldwide. People get to see that work that I did in Vegas so many, many years ago all over the world. And I've done some incredible work in Telugu and Tamil that Indians haven't seen. So as an actor, you want your work to be seen, na?
Yeah.
So that's the regret. But the one thing that's been, that removes all that regret is my daughter. I don't think I would have been able to raise her so beautifully and love her so deeply if it was in America, because there's just so much to do when you have a child there. I know all my friends who are, for the first 3 years, are just disoriented with their kids because they're trying to figure it all out. And there's not like your amama or your nanama coming and sitting and doing things for you.
That takes a big load off just living here and like having your life run on autopilot in a way.
Absolutely.
So 6 years after you graduated your undergrad, you were there. You did Desperate Housewives to, that was right after Vegas?
Yeah.
I mean, the roles kept increasing. When Vegas was a smaller role, and then that. Did you have anything that, when you left, did you have anything that was going to happen, or no, it was between things?
Yeah, when I left from there,
Yeah.
I know when I was getting married, I was being brought back into Las Vegas and I couldn't do it because it was right on the week of my wedding day. They had to write me out of the show.
Oh.
Yeah. And if you look at my wedding pictures, you will see I was not very happy. I was like, first of all, I don't want to get married. They're making me do this and I'm losing work. Like for me, work is everything, because it was a secret dream and a passion for so many years that had been suppressed. And finally, when I get to live my life, again, I'm brought back into that pattern of doing what other people want you to do. So it was a tough, tough time. But I've been lucky enough to have worked with some of my people that I said, oh my God, I could just die if I was in his movie. That has happened and I'm still alive.
I mean, you do go to the US every year though.
Yeah.
Have you tried, do you still do you have an agent over there, or?
I do, but you need to be there, and I think being in Hyderabad and trying to maneuver that is not
Easy. And so since you left, you haven't been able to do any work over there?
No, I
as such?
have. I did a movie called Basmati Blues with Brie Larson, who's
Okay.
Captain America now.
Yeah.
I did that one film, and that was auditioned out of here in Mumbai. I was supposed to do another role, and then I ended up doing this role. Yeah, that's it, but nothing really. And I'm hoping I get to open up my horizons more now.
Now that you moved to another city. Yeah. So, I mean, your work that you've done here, you've done a lot of work over here, but that doesn't matter over there when you say, like, your film, you've had successful films in another country.
No, because they think that acting is so different here, with our acting, that we're very pushy with our acting. We're not being a person in a place. We're always animated. We're always telling
Bubbly.
them, bubbly. Can you be more bubbly? And smile, Amma, smile more. But the scene doesn't require you to smile, So yeah, it's you're always challenged with what you bring to the table and how they want you to be in a role. So you got to give them what they want. I can't say this is what my training and this is how I will act, but you pick and choose your battles.
After your talk show, was it like organic the way your first film that you did in Telugu and or Tamil? Was it
I didn't do a movie for almost a year and a half.
after the talk show? Were you trying to, or how does it even work? Like, do
So
people
I got
approach you?
cast by somebody I knew, the director, and he always said that you are something and that you need to be cast in something. You need to be doing something grandiose. And then when I got this Disney film, they had already asked Sri Devi ji, they had asked Ramya Krishna ji, and they had asked Tabu, Sushmita Sen. And when it came to me, I said, no, I'm not doing a negative role for my first film. I won't. So that's when it went to Sushmita Sen or Tabu. And then the director was like, well, you had your chance. You had your chance, but now she has to say no before you do this.
Oh, so you changed your mind.
Yeah. So because I was just nervous, how will, again, people perceive me? Will I ruin my life coming into the industry as a villain first?
Is that a thing though? Because
Everything is a thing, Karan.
Everything is a thing.
Everything is a thing. And then being Mohan Babu's daughter, and then whatever. And then I'm like, if I do this, what is my career trajectory going to be? But then there is nobody else who could have done what I did in that film. To be able to be my first time for people to see what I can bring to the table. And it was my mom who finally convinced my dad for this film too. And that's that.
And how did you improve on your language? Because if you were I'm sure 1 year of the talk show also kind of like spruced up your Telugu completely.
You listen and you talk. And one of the films I did was Gundallo Godari, which needed me to have a coastal Telugu accent. And then I've done something which is purely like interior parts of Telangana accent. So I said, I did American, I can do Indian, I'll do Bengali, I'll do Konkani if I have to. As an artist, you can't be afraid of how can you? You got to dive in and figure out.
And how do you learn it? How do you pick it up? Do you do accent? You go to an accent coach or something like that?
Coach, you train with teachers. Now, right now, I can speak Hindi to an auto driver. In terms of, take me here, give me this, let's go there. But if I have to have an intellectual conversation in Hindi, nahi ho paega. I have to understand, I'm still learning the genders. Nahi ho paegi ya nahi ho paega. Like, I don't know which is right. But I know the intention and the meaning will come through. But I'm working on that right now. So as an artist, you have to keep learning, keep increasing your skill set.
And have you dubbed for yourself in all the roles you've played?
Yeah, my voice, nobody can dub for me.
Okay, so that means you would have to really perfect it before you even get to the dubbing.
Yeah, I did it in Malayalam.
Oh, okay. And with no knowledge of Malayalam at all?
Zero.
How do you find conviction in scenes when you don't speak the language?
You do your homework. You don't show up on set and say, what are my lines? You call in a AD, you spend the night before, so you go over it like you were in school. Close your eyes and say it and mug it and say it and mug it and say it and mug it and say it and mug it. So it becomes a part of your muscle memory. So when you're on set, then you're not worried about what the words are, even if you're getting prompted, because in India, it's not sync sound most times. Although the one that I did with Tarun Bhaskar in it was Telangana accent, I had to sync sound and learn that very subtle nuance as well. But you make it your muscle memory. So when you're sitting there, you can worry about if the light hitting you is, the other things as an actor that you need to take care of. Not, am I getting my lines right? Because the camera does not lie. It picks up when you're half-assed.
And also, the remembering your lines is the only thing you actually have to do before getting to set. Everything else is dictated by what happens on set, right?
Exactly.
But when you do that and you're memorizing a line in that way, like you're remembering it, does it ever happen where you kind of start speaking in a certain rhythm and aren't able to break away from it?
No. That's where you make the words intention. What are you saying? What happened before? I mean, that's where your training comes in, right? How do you approach a scene? What was the moment before? What are you feeling? There is a whole checklist that I do. And so through that, then you transported into that moment. And then the words, you don't try to say the word. They have to happen to you. Just because they are written, you don't say it verbatim. How are you finding these words to say it in the moment that's happening in front of you? That comes through training, Karan. And I get very, very, very irritated with actresses that say, "Mujhe rehearsal nahi acha lagta hai." You have to capture it the one time, the impromptu. Then you're not a freaking actress.
Yeah.
Because as an actor, the one thing you need to do is to do the same thing over and over and over again. Once the master is locked, you need to match it every single time for over the shoulder, for your close-up. Because on the edit table, if you're giving a different take each time,
it'll be a nightmare to cut. Unless that's something that the director wants, and then that's a
Yeah,
different
if
case.
you're doing a comedy and you're improvising throughout, that's fine. But if you're doing something that you have to match it. And very many a times actresses, I say actresses because I haven't seen that in actors, and I very closely worked with actresses who worked with my brothers and my dad. Half of them are clueless. They're pretty faces that think crying should be done this way, laughing should be done that way. They're not really finding how they are getting there, you know. So मैं एक ही बार करूँगी. I'm an improv actor. मुझे rehearsal नहीं अच्छा लगता. Only when you rehearse 100 times, you're going to do what others haven't done. Because the 100 times you're only getting with your impulses, with your story, with your understanding.
It's what you've been conditioned to your whole life. You're just going to do.
Exactly.
And the 101th time will be the new thing.
We'll be
that you
like,
bring.
whoa, where did this come from? People don't have the patience to wait to that exploration.
But does not knowing the language affect improv in scenes? Like if you have to do any improv, how
Then do it in the language that you know, and then say, how can I do this? You can't always know, and especially in India, you're working in different languages. You can't say this is the only way. So you understand what it is. Do it in your language of comfort, so you know what you want to do, and then say those words, because most times you're not dubbing for a language that you don't know. Somebody else is usually dubbing for you.
So in a Malayalam film, it would be difficult for you to do that. So you'd show them the thing in Telugu first, and then you'd ask them.
No, I did it in Malayalam itself because I knew what she was doing and how she was playing, and I love to torture my ADs. Why am I saying this? Why shouldn't I say that? She's coming from there. Why shouldn't she come from here? If she went through all this, why is she so calm? Like, if you can't convince me, then we're gonna fight. Because then why did you hire me? Not just to be a puppet, right? You
Right.
hired me because I'm going to bring something new to the scene. So if I don't ask you questions, and there are times the directors are like, I didn't even think of it like that. And sometimes they're like, just kar do na. I'm like, kyun? So because this happens in the second act this time. I'm like, so you give me that, no? You can't do it, because most times here you're not given the full script also, even in today's day. You're given the scene paper, not the entire script.
So before you sign a film, you probably have at least read some version of the
No,
script.
they give you narrations here. Very
Okay.
rarely are you given a locked-bound script. They're like, we're still working on the dialogues, Amma.
So how often does that happen, or does it happen like
All the
nearly all the time?
All the time.
Yeah. Now you live in Bombay. Was there any particular reason for moving here?
Quite a few things. There were a sequence of events that happened. You know, in Hyderabad, it's a very common thing that when a bunch of us sit together, that we were always complaining about how boring Hyderabad is. There's nothing to do here. Only the weather is good. How many? You can't eat biryani every day, huh?
Yeah.
That was one thing. And then I was talking to Rana about something, and he was talking to me about the things that he's doing. And then he said, yeah, this is my forever. I need to figure out how I want this to be my forever. And then I looked at him and I said, but I don't feel like this is my forever. He said, yeah, this is not your forever. How can you be here? This is not your forever. Brushed it off. Like, yeah, of course. I mean, this is not who you are, kind of a thing. And then I couldn't go to sleep for 3 days. I said, every time we go out, there is like not real fun. It's not about just fun. Like, the city has not really, I mean, you can't really go out. You're constant. I can't eat. I go to not restaurants, to any of the functions. I can't eat because there are like so many people around me. I'm not complaining. But whatever you do is inside your home. And I've lived outside of this country and tasted that freedom to do things. Like this morning, I woke up and did yoga in spite of my pain. I laid there with the camera, but you know, so funny. I kept saying, it's hurting, it's hurting, it's hurting. She's like, yeah, because you're forcing your breath. Just do shallow breaths. And I'm like, oh, because when it's hurting, you know, you go.
Yeah.
So even to get that little bit of attention, that was new. And then called my physiotherapist. He showed up, having to do something different that I've never done before. I know we would have done this in Hyderabad also, but I feel like there are just so many newer things that I'm experiencing here, even with the restaurants, and Apple and I are loving. So when I made the decision to move here, I was like, let me find a school for her, and then an apartment. And I brought her a weekend and took her to all my favorite restaurants that I usually go to. And she's a big food connoisseur. She loves food just like me. And I'm waiting to get spaghetti and parmesan today. She just made it. That's why I was like, when people are like, oh, did you get a job or did you get a movie? I said, no, my first criteria is to make sure that she settles in well, because, you know, uprooting her from a dynasty of sorts of being in Hyderabad and bringing her here to an apartment with just two of us is quite a shift for her. But she's been nothing short of an angel. I keep looking up on the sky saying she really did fall from the above. And she's made it really easy. She's very adaptable. So my life seems easy right now.
That's kind of essential, because if she's not adjusted well and you do get work over here, what are you going to do?
Oh my God. I mean, and I've been traveling quite a bit since she's been in school. Believe me not, yesterday was the first night since I've moved here that we were both alone together in the apartment. Because I've been traveling, I had my cousins come and stay. So it's never been like just she and I since we moved, because I needed somebody to be here while I was traveling. And now it's just she and I, and I think we're doing all right.
And now what is your plan for the foreseeable future?
You know, Karan, I'm kind of confused. So I've changed my name to Lama.
Okay.
I'm only introducing myself as Lama. I don't want to bring any of the baggage that I've, good or bad, from elsewhere. Some of my friends tell me, are you mad? You should come with, do you know who I am? And some are like, just let's see how it goes. So I'm really confused in how I want to play this.
Have you ever thought of quitting though?
No.
Since college, has there ever been like a point that you're like...
That even hurts when you say.
Really?
Yeah, no, oh my God, no. I'm going to be giving my last shot on my deathbed, dude. I'm like, I'll die after the shot is done. The joy I get in when I'm acting or when I'm creating these characters and able to play these things, I think that's why I'm able to be as sane as I am. Otherwise, I'm quite neurotic. And if I couldn't put these in different roles and different bodies, I don't know what I would have been.
Well, then how do you navigate the downs? Like the ups are great always, right?
Get some help, yo. It is not easy. I have my mentors, I have my therapists, I have my yoga teachers. I know if I need to take it in my body or it's something going on in my head, this is not something you can do on your own. And especially when you're coming from a family that you do, everything is judged. Everything is, you know, your accent, for me, I'll only talk for me.
Yeah.
Your accent is judged. You speak good English, you don't speak good English. You speak good Telugu, you don't speak good Telugu. You do good for people, it's bad. If you don't do good for people, it's not bad. I'm like, everything is judged. And I call these people keyboard warriors. Nobody has the balls to come and say anything in front of me. It's only behind me or behind a computer. It does affect you, you know, and how to really understand who you are. And that only happens through work, self-help, self-work, understanding yourself. You're above other people's opinions, and it's not something you're born with. You need to equip yourself with these tools, and there is zero shame in asking for help. And if you don't ask for help, shame on you. If your tummy is hurting, you're going to go to a tummy doctor.
Or if your mind is hurting, you go to a mind doctor.
You need to, and just remove those taboos about it, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I talk to Richard all the time if I have a role and I'm finding it cliche and bored, and I'm like, oh, why the heck should I do this? And even though, you know, I get very irritated when directors come and say, give me something else. I said, dude, what do you want? I can give you 500 things. I think something else, a little bit more anger. I'm like, why do you want me to? So you know what I mean? It's just such loud acting, and sometimes I get irritated that, no, I can say this not being loud, but they see it a certain way. So you ultimately have to give what the director wants. But how do you find peace with that, right?
But do you
So
stop
I'm
liking
always
what
like,
you do?
please, okay, I'll do exactly what you want.
But
Just
let
for
me do.
my sake, can I do this and show you? And then you decide. And then somewhere there's always a middle ground, you know, because and then you have to understand not to pull a face. Don't get upset because your director said this. Then they label you. You're difficult to work with. I am one of the actors that never take a real, like, just what they say, I don't listen. But I never ever have been labeled that I'm difficult, because I know how to maneuver my way through it. Because in a day in a shoot, the director is losing out on the light, or he has the last day of the set, and the producer just came and told him he just spent too much on the last schedule, or his wife and him had a fight. All of that comes landing on the set. Okay, you don't need to add to it, but try to make it softer and get what you want, but give them what they need as well.
Also, like, being labeled as difficult also kind of comes with the territory of having the intelligence to ask the right questions, right?
But how are you asking those questions, right? There's always a way to. I don't think this is how it's done. I yell on screen and on sets when I'm producing. People are scared of me because there are 100 men on set, and
yeah,
Indian men don't like a woman telling them what to do.
I mean, they don't listen half the time when a woman tells them
And
what to
then
do.
they don't like it, a woman telling them. So they're always trying to be like, who's this? So I am, when it's Anna is Anna, when it's like Ray is Ray,
Do you find result direction difficult? Like when they do give you a direct emotion saying that I'm more anger, more this thing, rather than giving you like a verb to direct your acting?
Yeah, but now I'm used to it.
So you kind of break it down in your own head. So you mark out a script saying that my motivation for this is this, the subtext for this is this.
Absolutely.
So that's the part of the homework for a scene that you're doing.
Absolutely. I have a checklist of what Milton Catellis talks about. He says in a scene, it's always important what happened a moment before, because that is something that you bring into the scene. You don't start a scene with, the coffee is great. How are you drinking that coffee? You came with the pain. How do you reach for that coffee? So how do you imbibe all of that, And so there is a big checklist that I go through before I approach any character or any scene, because then I feel like somebody's already done this, because it is A, B, C, D to Z. It's between that you have to figure out, but you have to still bring the right emotion.
I mean, you've also been a producer. So, I mean, what's the hardest part about being a producer? How do you pick a script? How are you sure that it's going to click with an audience? Do you have an audience in mind you're selling your film to? How does that work?
You can't think so deep. You got to be convinced that this is a story you want to tell.
So
I wish I really think about what the audience wants, but there are things that I'm more, as a producer, I'm more pushed to tell the stories that other people don't tell. So I'm not really convinced with, how well will this do? Which is not a very good thing. You should really think about what the audience wants, right? But I'm really driven by what else can I tell them.
So is it like, this is a film that I would want to see, so that's why I want to make this film? I think
Yes.
a lot of filmmakers kind of run by that logic. Like Quentin Tarantino says, Scorsese says, is that we make the films that we want to watch.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
the audience will find its own audience.
Exactly, because there are certain movies I just can't make. I'm like, whoa, how did you even do this, But then I'm a part of those movies. There are certain movies that I haven't watched of me because I was so embarrassed. And they've made it to Sony Set Max or whatever, and I'm so popular in Hindi right now with all my dubbed films,
If you made the choice to do these films and you've regretted it later, what made you want to do those films at the time?
Man, the way they convince you when they want you, I mean, the way they sell, the way the movie is going to be made, and then on the set, it's a completely different thing. I'm working on a film right now that I told them, listen, you got to pay my staff every day. You cannot wait till the next schedule, because, they have certain ways of dealing with this. So they paid every single day. Now they haven't paid the last day. Now it's been 3 months since I finished that film. My staff is calling me saying, when are we going to get paid? I've paid them every single time. But now I refuse to. I say, no, I will make sure you're paid from the people that need to pay you. I won't go do the dubbing for them. I won't go dub. I'm like, unless these payments are cleared. Before I would feel bad for the producer because I'm a producer. I'm like, chalo, I'll give you. But no, you made a commitment to this. Now you stand up for it, know?
I'm owed 2 years of TDS. Yeah, for a Telugu film that I worked on.
See?
Yeah, and no one in the film got paid. I managed to get paid because I refused to go for the edit.
There you go.
And then as soon as the number of days were over, I stopped going. I said, pay me on a per day basis because I know you guys are out of money and you're not going to pay me.
Yeah, exactly.
Any advice for actors in terms of like their contracts and like what they could do to get better at their craft, break their inhibitions?
Just protect yourself. Everything is a professional game these days. Get your lawyers in term, your contract. Learn your contract, And it's pretty much the same everywhere. But don't go and key, I taught this, because your career is your profession. So treat it professionally. It's not some winging it game, you know? So put in your time and demand for what you work for.
And in terms of getting better as an actor?
See, I was telling you earlier that, you know, as a musician, if you're playing the guitar, you're playing for 8 to 10 hours a day to get it right. We were talking about Usain Bolt, who said, I've trained for years together to run those few seconds. Only as actors you show up and say, I know how to do acting. No, you don't. No, it's not something which is inbuilt. It is something that it's a craft that you learn. So treat it like a craft and put in the time and effort. Go do a dance class, do a voice class. Voice class is not because you start singing. It's because you know how to place your voice in different places when you're acting, how to hold more in your lungs when you're saying a dialogue. There are so many places that you can learn so many things from. Keep your skill sets high. Like I did Kalari, and when I was shooting for a Malayalam film, every single day I woke up at 4:30 a.m. The movie didn't have any Kalari in it. I did have fight sequences, but I was in a land where Kalari is taught and not most of India has access to it. I was going to take advantage of that. And me waking up an hour early to learn a new skill, heck yeah.
And you know, like, since you've worked in America, also the acting CVs that you see over there, people have like all kinds of special skills that help them get roles.
Yes. Yeah. You won't believe the funniest thing I ever wrote was I can drive stick shift. I'm not kidding you. Driving a stick shift is a big deal in America because everybody's so used to automatic cars.
Yeah,
I didn't even know that was a skill set. I was like, write that down.
Yeah, and in terms of breaking inhibitions, getting more comfortable performing,
that will only happen the more you do it. So don't wait till you get that role to go do that. That's why I say when you put yourself in places that make you uncomfortable, let it be a dance class or a music class, you are among other people. So you fight through those, you know, and ultimately it's you finding yourself and your confidence to go out there. Today, Aishwarya Rai is being trashed about how she looks. But she doesn't have to prove anything to anybody. But still you're in that radar of being, how is she coping with that? We all need to have our own tool set to protect ourselves with how people perceive you and see you. I'll only talk about the girls I know, like Rakul and Tapsi. They're one of the most hardworking girls that I know. Like I know them really close.
You produced one of Tapsi's films.
I introduced Tapsi.
Oh, okay.
Her first movie was with my brother. I was her first producer. And she was so green. She had zero idea. I can't say the things I used to say about her before. She had no idea she didn't know the difference between an eyeliner and a mascara. Like she was that green, you know. But she was an excellent dancer. She was in Shamak's, troupe and all of that. But they put the time and effort in learning the skill set, you know. It just doesn't happen SE. And when you work that hard, then that's when things start to show for you. It doesn't matter if Rakul goes to sleep at 2 a.m. She will wake up before her next day, go to the gym, work out, and only then get to set.
And that is super important because if you're not a reliable actor, if you're not a reliable actor in the start of your career, no one's going to give you a second chance at that point.
Exactly. You know, girls
they did it with Brando. Brando couldn't get a role until Godfather because he was too difficult to work with.
Yeah, I mean, it just becomes, people know and they see your work. More than that, it's a career marriage that happens, right? That you got to be with them for 6 months or a year for about 10 to 12 hours every day. Yeah, my teachers also taught me it is not just your acting, your attitude monitors your talents. Yeah, and he said there are people that will change your life because they're such good actors, but their attitude is so crappy that you're just like, find someone else.
Yeah, it's sometimes not worth the stress at all. So yeah, I think now we're done. And thank you so much for coming, Lakshmi. Please like, share, subscribe. And what's your upcoming film that's going to be coming next?
I have, I'm doing a movie with my dad called Agni Nakshatram. I produced that also. Looking at OTT for that. And then I have a movie called Lechindi Mahila Lokam, which is all women in the film, and I play a divorce attorney. And yesterday a poster was released, Adi Parava Manjepi. It is more like a socio-fantasy film. And then I have another one called Gamble, which is more like an anime kind of a film. I play the goddess of death in it. I'm doing a series for Hotstar right now, which Arca is producing. And then I finished a Tamil film called Non-Stop, and then working on another Tamil film.
Oh God, that's a lot of.
I finished everything. Suddenly I feel like I have no work. I have to dub for quite a few of these,
Okay.
but yeah.
Cool. So, I mean, check out that long list of films whenever they do come out.